Alright, Common Core Algebra 2, continuing on with 2.3, graphing linear equations. We're going to have part 2 today, which we're going to look at two other forms. So we saw slope-intercept form last time, plus we graphed using table. Today we're going to look at standard form and point-slope form. And this is the one that you may have seen before, but it's probably going to be new for most of us. Okay, starting off with standard form, most of us have seen this before. It's just anytime we have ax plus by equals c. So you'll notice that ax are on the same side. You have your variables x and y, and b and a, and on the other side your constant. Those are all going to be numbers. What we're going to do for standard form is find both our x and our y-intercept. So a quick reminder, your x-intercept, point where the line crosses the x-axis, y-intercept, point where it crosses the y-axis. So we're going to find those two things and then draw the line connecting them. In order to find them, or here's a little bit of practice if we have a line. Okay, so first we're going to start looking for our x-intercept. Remember, that's where we cross the x-axis. So right here, and that's going to give us a -7 value for x. And then remember, anytime we're on our x-axis, our y value is going to be 0. So the x-intercept is -7, 0. And your y-intercept, you'll see, is down here. And the opposite is true here. Anytime you're on your y-axis, your y-intercept, your x value is 0. And then we have a y value of -3 at that intercept. Okay, to find our x-intercepts, we're going to start by making y 0. So we'll have an equation, and we substitute 0 in for y, and then we solve for x. So if I substitute 0 in for y, our equation would look like that. Well, that's always going to happen, that this y is going to cancel out. You're not going to have this y term, and we're going to end up with just 4x equals 12, and divide both sides by 4. We get that x is equal to 3. So our x-intercept for that equation would be at 3, 0. Vice versa, then, to find the y-intercept, we start by substituting 0 in for x. We make x 0, and this time we're going to solve for y. Same kind of thing is going to happen. Now, this first term, the x term, is going to cancel out. Don't forget to bring down the negative in this case for that -2y equals 12. Divide both sides by -2. We get y is equal to -6. So that tells us our y-intercept is at 0. Don't forget, x is always 0 in this one. -6. That would give us our y-intercept. So once we have both our x and our y-intercept, remember we got 3, 0 for our x-intercept and 0, -6 for our y-intercept. Last thing we need to do then is graph both of them. So we're going to have an x-intercept at 3, 0 right here, and a y-intercept at -6, 0 right there. And finally, we can just draw a line to connect those 2 points, and that would give us the graph, the graph for this equation. Okay, a little bit different than what's new to us, our point-slope form. So it's going to look a lot like slope-intercept form, except for now we have this y1 and x1 in there as well. You'll notice you still have m. There's a reason it's called point-slope. So we're not trying to fool you here. Slope is in there because we have a value for slope, and then we also have a point. So this y1, x1. Now, one thing to keep in mind, your x and your y values here are always opposite. So if this is minus, x1 is actually positive. If this is a plus, x1 is actually negative. Same thing with the y value. If it's minus, y1 is positive. If it's plus, y1 is negative. That's the most difficult piece for people usually. So in this first one, to identify the slope, we're going to get 2. And then our points, remember, is opposite. So this will be -9, +3. The second one, since there's no number here, we need to keep in mind there's actually a -1. So your slope is -1, and your point is going to be at +8 this time, and -4. Remember, they are always opposite here. Okay, so looking at, or how we graph, we start by plotting the point that we're given. So that point means you need to figure out what your x1, y1 are, plot that point, and then we're going to use our slope to find the second point. So that's the m piece. And then finally connect the points with a line. Like we already said, we have this point -9, 3. So I'm going to put a point at -9 and +3. There's our point. And then our slope is 2, but remember we want to say rise over run, so we're going to go from this point up to right 1. I can do that again, up to right 1. I could do the opposite, don't forget. I could say down to left 1. And then finally I'm just going to draw my line here connecting all of those points. Make sure it's nice and straight. And we are done. That is the graph of that equation. Okay, so we went over two things, graphing in standard form and point-slope form. Standard form, you're going to need to find your intercepts, so x and y intercept, making the opposite variable 0 and solving. That'll give you 2 points. Point-slope form, you're given a point and you're given a slope. So just like the name suggests, we use the point to graph, or we plot the first point and then slope to find the second point. See you guys next time.